What if the war everyone thought was over has only just begun? Carter is gone, Mariano is still pulling the strings, and Beth and Rip are about to face the most dangerous enemy they've ever met. But that's not the biggest surprise. A shocking new alliance could change everything, and one decision made in secret may decide who survives this war. If these predictions come true, Dutton Ranch Season 2 could become the biggest chapter in the Yellowstone universe yet. The ending of Season 1 may have looked like the end of one chapter, but in reality, it felt like the beginning of a much bigger war. Carter's kidnapping proved one important thing. Mariano isn't interested in winning a single battle. He's trying to control everyone around Beth and Rip by attacking the people they love the most. That makes him much more dangerous than an ordinary enemy because he doesn't fight with anger alone. He fights with patience. If Season 2 begins where the finale left off, Beth and Rip will have almost no time to recover. Every second that passes gives Mariano another chance to move Carter somewhere nobody can find him. Beth knows this better than anyone. She understands that waiting could cost them everything. Rip feels exactly the same way. But unlike Beth, he knows rushing into a trap could make things even worse. That difference could create the first major conflict between them this season. Beth will want immediate action, while Rip will insist on gathering information before making a move. Neither of them is wrong. They simply carry the weight of the situation in different ways. Beth follows her heart when the people she loves are threatened. Rip follows experience because he has survived too many battles to make emotional decisions. Meanwhile, Mariano won't be hiding. He knows Beth and Rip are coming. In fact, he may actually want them to chase him. Every clue they discover could be another piece of a larger trap. The closer they think they are getting to Carter, the further Mariano may be leading them away from the truth. That is exactly what makes this enemy different. Instead of attacking head-on, Mariano attacks the mind first. He creates confusion. He forces people to doubt one another. He waits for fear to do half the work before making his next move. But there may be another problem growing inside the ranch itself. Everyone is focused on rescuing Carter, yet almost nobody is asking how Mariano knew so much about Beth and Rip's movements. Throughout the first season, he always seemed one step ahead. That raises an uncomfortable question. Is someone secretly feeding information to him? If that theory turns out to be true, then the greatest threat may not be outside the ranch at all. It could already be standing inside the gates. Beth has always trusted her instincts, and she may begin noticing small details that nobody else pays attention to. Strange phone calls, missing supplies, conversations that suddenly stop when she enters the room. None of these things prove betrayal, but together they could point towards something much darker. Rip may refuse to believe someone close to them would ever betray the ranch. Loyalty has always meant everything to him, but loyalty can sometimes make people blind. The longer he ignores Beth's suspicions, the more dangerous the situation could become. At the same time, Carter is unlikely to give up hope. Even while being held captive, he has shown before that he refuses to let fear control him. Instead of waiting to be rescued, he may quietly begin studying Mariano's operation. Every guard, every vehicle, every routine, every mistake. That determination could become the key to his survival. Mariano, however, may underestimate Carter completely. He may see him as nothing more than leverage against Beth and Rip. But people who underestimate members of the Dutton family usually make the same mistake. Strength isn't always measured by age or experience. Sometimes it's measured by the willingness to keep fighting even when escape seems impossible. Another person who could become incredibly important is Beulah. After everything that happened during Season 1, Beulah stands at a crossroads. She has already paid an enormous personal price for her past decisions. Now she must decide whether to protect herself or risk everything to stop Mariano once and for all. If she chooses to help Beth and Rip, she won't simply be joining their fight. She'll be declaring war against her own past. That decision would change everything. It could also force Walken to make the biggest choice of his life. Will he continue following Mariano's orders, or will he finally break free from the man who has controlled him for so long? Season 1 showed moments where Walken struggled with guilt. Those moments may become even stronger in Season 2. Sometimes the most dangerous villain creates his own enemy. If Mariano keeps pushing everyone around him with fear, eventually someone inside his own circle could decide enough is enough. And that may become Beth and Rip's greatest opportunity, because winning this war won't depend on who has the biggest army. It will depend on who earns the most trust. One thing already feels certain. When Season 2 begins, nobody will truly know who their allies are, who their enemies are, or who will still be alive when the dust finally settles. Every decision will carry consequences, every secret will matter, and every step toward Carter could lead directly into Mariano's most dangerous trap yet. The real battle isn't about land anymore, it's about family. And for Beth and Rip, that is a fight they will never walk away from. As the search for Carter grows more desperate, Beth and Rip may finally realize that this is no longer a simple rescue mission. Mariano has turned Carter into a message. Every hour he remains missing sends the same warning: nobody is safe. That realization could push Beth into making a move that surprises everyone. Instead of waiting for more clues, she may begin contacting old allies from outside Texas. People who owe favors, people who know how cartels operate, people willing to cross lines that ordinary law enforcement never would. Rip won't like it. He has always believed that bringing more people into a fight creates more chances for betrayal. But Beth understands something Rip doesn't want to admit. Mariano is too powerful for them to handle alone. If they keep fighting as they did before, they'll only keep reacting to his moves instead of controlling the game. Meanwhile, Carter may discover that Mariano isn't keeping him in a single location. The cartel could be moving him repeatedly, making it nearly impossible for Beth and Rip to track him. But during one of these transfers, Carter might overhear a conversation that changes everything. He could learn that Mariano isn't just protecting a drug operation, he's preparing for something much bigger. A major shipment, a new partnership, or perhaps an expansion into territory that would threaten everyone connected to the Duttons. Suddenly, Carter realizes his kidnapping may only be one small part of a much larger plan. Back at the ranch, Beulah could finally break her silence. For most of Season 1, she carried the weight of her past alone. But Carter's disappearance may become the moment she can no longer stay neutral. She knows how men like Mariano think. She knows the routes they use, the people they trust, and the mistakes they make when they become too confident. And for the first time, she may decide to share that knowledge with Beth. That conversation could become one of the most important moments of the season. Because Beth may finally realize that Beulah isn't simply a survivor of this world, she understands it better than anyone else. At the same time, Walken may begin falling apart under the pressure. Rob Will's death still hangs over him, and deep down he may know the truth about what really happened that night. Mariano expects obedience, but guilt has a way of turning loyal followers into unpredictable threats. The more Mariano pushes him, the more dangerous Walken becomes. Then comes the biggest twist. A rumor reaches the ranch that Carter was seen near the Texas border. Beth immediately wants to move, but Rip hesitates. The information arrives too easily. It feels planted. It feels like exactly the kind of bait Mariano would use. For the first time, Beth begins to wonder if Rip is right. What if the rescue operation is already compromised? What if someone is leaking every move they make? That suspicion could force them into a painful decision. Instead of working together openly, Beth and Rip may split their efforts. Rip continues the public search, while Beth secretly follows a different trail that only a handful of people know about. It's risky. It creates distance between them. But it may be the only way to discover who can truly be trusted. And somewhere in the middle of all this, another name could begin appearing in whispers: Casey Dutton. No one knows whether he'll return, but the possibility alone changes the atmosphere. Because if the fight against Mariano grows into a war, Beth may eventually call the one person who understands exactly what it means to protect family at any cost. By the end of this section, the situation has completely changed. Carter is still missing. Mariano remains untouchable. Beth and Rip are starting to suspect a traitor. Beulah has finally chosen a side, and the first rumors of outside help are beginning to spread. But the most important change is this. For the first time, Mariano may not be the only one setting traps anymore, because Beth Dutton has finally stopped reacting to the game and started playing it. Just when Mariano believes he has complete control, he could make the one mistake that changes the entire war. Throughout Season 1, he stayed several steps ahead because he underestimated no one. He planned every move carefully, and every attack served a purpose. But power has a way of making people overconfident. After kidnapping Carter and watching Beth and Rip struggle to find him, Mariano may begin believing that the Duttons are finally broken. that confidence could become his greatest weakness. Meanwhile, Carter refuses to give Mariano what he wants. Instead of begging for help or showing fear, he quietly watches everything around him. He pays attention to every face, every vehicle, every conversation, and every location. He notices which guards argue with each other, who follows orders without question, and who seems nervous whenever Mariano arrives. Carter begins realizing that Mariano's organization isn't as united as it appears. There are cracks forming beneath the surface. One guard, in particular, may start questioning why an innocent young man is being held hostage. At first, he says nothing, but every day he watches Carter remain calm despite everything happening around him. That quiet strength could slowly change the guard's mind. Without realizing it, Mariano may have placed the one person capable of helping Carter right beside him. Back at the ranch, Beth becomes more convinced than ever that someone has been leaking information. She starts looking back at everything that happened during the first season. Every ambush, every surprise attack, every time Mariano seemed to know exactly where they would be. The pattern is impossible to ignore. Someone has been helping him. Rip still wants proof before accusing anyone, but Beth believes waiting could cost another life. She quietly begins testing the people around her. Instead of sharing the same information with everyone, she gives different details to different people. If Mariano reacts to one specific piece of information, Beth will finally know which trail the leak followed. Days later, her plan works. Mariano suddenly moves men toward a location that only one person should have known about. Beth doesn't celebrate. Instead, she realizes something even more frightening. The person helping Mariano isn't just someone who overheard conversations. It's someone close enough to know the ranch's private plans, someone the family never imagined would betray them. That discovery changes everything. Instead of rushing after Carter, Beth and Rip decide they must first deal with the threat inside their own circle. As painful as it is, they know they can't rescue Carter if every move they make continues reaching Mariano before they arrive. While this is happening, Bula makes a decision that surprises everyone. She secretly travels to meet someone connected to her past. It's someone who once worked alongside Mariano, but walked away years ago. This person knows the cartel's old routes, abandoned safe houses, and hidden supply locations. For years, they stayed silent out of fear. But after hearing what happened to Carter, they finally agree to talk. The information they provide isn't enough to reveal Carter's exact location, but it does reveal something much bigger. Mariano isn't planning to stay hidden forever. He's preparing to expand his operation across Texas, using the chaos surrounding the ranch as a distraction. While Beth and Rip focus entirely on rescuing Carter, Mariano is quietly building an empire that could become almost impossible to stop later. Beth immediately understands what this means. If they wait too long, rescuing Carter won't be enough anymore. They'll be fighting an enemy who has become stronger than ever. At the same time, Waken reaches his breaking point. The guilt over Rob Will's death continues haunting him. Every order Mariano gives feels heavier than the last. He begins questioning whether loyalty built on fear is loyalty at all. For the first time, Waken secretly considers helping Beth and Rip, not because he trusts them, but because he no longer trusts Mariano. That single thought could become the turning point of the entire season, because Mariano has spent years controlling people through fear. What he never expected was that fear can eventually disappear when someone has nothing left to lose. As episode 1 moves toward its final moments, Beth finally gathers everyone she trusts most. She doesn't promise victory. She doesn't promise Carter will be home soon. Instead, she says something much more powerful. She tells them that this fight isn't about revenge anymore. It's about making sure Mariano never has the chance to destroy another family again. Those words remind everyone why they're still standing together despite everything they've lost. The mission has changed. The enemy is stronger than ever. A traitor may already have been exposed. Waken is beginning to question everything he once believed. And somewhere in the shadows, Carter is still waiting for the moment when hope finally reaches him. But one thing is becoming painfully clear. Mariano believes he has already won. And that may be the biggest mistake of his entire life. Everything begins to change when Beth realizes that simply rescuing Carter will not end this nightmare. Even if they bring him home safely, Mariano will still have the money, the power, and the people to come after them again. As long as he remains in control, the ranch will never truly be safe. That thought pushes Beth toward a bold new strategy. Instead of chasing Mariano across Texas, she decides it's time to make Mariano react to them. Rip is surprised by the idea. For weeks, they have been following every clue Mariano leaves behind. Now Beth wants to stop following and start leading. She believes that if Mariano thinks he controls every move they make, then the best way to beat him is to make him believe he is winning while quietly taking away everything that gives him power. The first target isn't Mariano himself, it's his network. Bula explains that powerful men like Mariano survive because of trust. They have drivers, suppliers, money handlers, and people who move information from one place to another. Remove those connections, and even the strongest leader begins standing alone. Beth immediately understands. She doesn't need to defeat Mariano overnight. She only needs to make everyone around him question whether staying loyal is worth the risk. Meanwhile, Carter continues looking for an opportunity to escape. During another transfer between locations, he notices something unusual. Two cartel members begin arguing over Mariano's decisions. One believes Mariano is becoming reckless. The other insists nobody should question him. For Carter, this argument reveals something important. The cartel is no longer united. Fear is holding everyone together, but fear is also pulling them apart. Instead of trying to escape immediately, Carter decides to wait. He knows that rushing now could end everything. If divisions inside Mariano's organization continue growing, a better opportunity may come soon. Back at the ranch, Rip quietly follows a lead that almost everyone else ignores. He visits one of Mariano's abandoned supply routes mentioned by Bula. At first, the place appears empty, but Rip notices fresh tire marks leading away from the area. Someone has been there recently. The location doesn't reveal Carter. Instead, it reveals documents, coded messages, and evidence that Mariano has been preparing operations far beyond Texas. Rip suddenly realizes this war was never only about the ranch. Mariano has been building something much larger, using the conflict with Beth and Rip as a cover while expanding his criminal network. When Rip returns with the information, Beth immediately sees an opportunity. If they expose Mariano's larger operation, many of his own partners could abandon him before the war even begins. But another problem quickly appears. The suspected traitor inside their circle realizes Beth has become suspicious. Without warning, important information disappears. Phones stop working. Supplies go missing. A planned meeting is suddenly compromised. Someone is trying to destroy Beth's plans before they can begin. For the first time, even Rip can no longer deny that Beth was right. There really is someone working against them. The discovery shakes everyone at the ranch. Trust becomes harder than ever. Every conversation feels different. Every silence feels suspicious. No one knows who might be listening. At the same time, Wiccan secretly reaches out to Bula. He doesn't ask for forgiveness. He doesn't make excuses. Instead, he delivers a simple warning. Mariano is preparing one final move that will force Beth and Rip into an impossible decision. They can save Carter, or they can protect the ranch. But they won't have time to do both. Bula immediately understands the danger. Mariano wants to divide them. If Beth leaves to rescue Carter, the ranch becomes vulnerable. If Rip stays behind to defend the ranch, Beth faces Mariano alone. It's exactly the kind of impossible choice Mariano has been planning from the very beginning. As episode 1 approaches its ending, Beth gathers everyone once more. This time, her voice is calm. She tells them Mariano believes fear is stronger than family. He believes that if he keeps taking people away, the Duttons will eventually fall apart. But Beth has spent her entire life proving people like Mariano wrong. She tells everyone that the next move won't belong to the cartel. It will belong to the ranch. For the first time since Carter disappeared, hope begins replacing fear. Not because the danger is over, but because Beth and Rip finally stop fighting separately. They begin planning their first real strike against Mariano. And if their plan succeeds, the balance of power could finally begin to shift.